What's up, gorgeous? I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Fierce Framework podcast, where we talk about becoming fierce through messy action, baby steps, and cultivating confidence. I'm your host, Mary Beth. I'm a business coach with a passion to see women breaking out of the mold society tells us we're supposed to fit into and to start living life more on our own terms. I believe the world benefits when women are living lives that we're lit up about and we're pursuing a purpose that makes us feel fulfilled. My goal with this podcast is to share inspiration, stories of other entrepreneurs just like you, and practical tools and tips to help you become fierce in your business. If that sounds good to you, you're going to love this episode. Let's get down to it. What's up, gorgeous? I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to another episode of the Fierce Framework. Today, I want to talk about how to do it scared, how to just do it, how to take the leap, right? A lot of the time, especially if you're looking at kind of inspirational posts or kind of looking for that empowerment, you'll hear a lot of the time, like, you just got to do it. Like, you got to do it scared and you just have to take the leap, do it before you feel ready, take action, all those things. And it's like, yeah, but like, how? Right? Because if it was easy, we would all just be doing the things we love and we wouldn't be like stuck in these situations where we're like longing for and wishing we could and all that type of thing, right? So I do want to start out by acknowledging that it is hard and it can suck sometimes. And the truth of the matter is, like, when it comes down to it, like, you just got to do it. Whatever it is, you got to take that first step. So, I want to talk about like how you actually do that and kind of breaking down that first step as small as possible so that it's less scary. Because in my experience, like that's what holds us back is that fear. It feels too big, it's overwhelming, and sometimes it's like it's so big you don't even know where to start, right? So if there's something you want to do and you're scared to do it, nervous about taking that leap, worried about starting, that's exactly what I want to talk about. All right. So I want to focus on three main steps. And the first one is like what you choose, right? So you want to choose something ideally, in my perspective, that aligns with your goal. So if we're thinking about what it is you want to do, then choose something like small, but still along that vein. So it's like a baby step way at the beginning of the journey, but it's in alignment with your bigger goal and where you're trying to go. So for example, well, let me take a step back. Because ultimately, like in my eyes, there's two main kinds of confidence. And the first kind, which is what I usually like to talk about, is like confidence in yourself, that self-trust, where you're confident that regardless of what happens, you're going to be okay. You're going to figure it out. You're going to be there for yourself and brush yourself off and get back up. You're going to figure out a way forward. It's like that trust in yourself. And I focus on that because I think that that is such a powerful form of confidence. And I think that it's often misunderstood. But I also think there's like a second kind of confidence, and that is like your assuredness in your ability to do something. And so I believe the first kind of confidence is a little more broad because it's like that trust in yourself. So regardless of what happens or what you're involved in or like what facet of life you're dealing with, it comes back to like I got me. And I trust that I can figure this out and like it's that self-trust. So it really translates kind of across the board versus a more like ability-based confidence where it's like I do this well, I do it often, and I'm confident in my ability to do this thing. And I believe in my experience, like that's a lot more specific to like a category. So in my perspective, right, you have like kind of the overarching, like I'm confident in myself, which is like a deeper and then there's like a more specific confidence where you're like, I'm confident in my ability to. I know I'm good at this. I expect myself to succeed, excel in this area. And that kind of confidence comes from doing something well over and over and over again. In my perspective, like from practice, from doing the thing. And so, because of like that specific kind of confidence, I feel like it's most valuable if you're working toward a bigger goal to hone that confidence. And so, that's why I encourage you to find something that aligns with that. So, say for example, your dream is to like drive a race car and like be in a specific race, and it's like, you have to qualify to get there, like blah 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 blah. So instead of like just affirmations in the mirror, like building your confidence in yourself, I would recommend a baby step of doing something with racing, right? Like doing something with a car. So you're building confidence like in that specific ability, in that vein, right? For example, I wanted to build my confidence with karaoke because I was like, I like to sing, it's fun. And I was like, I don't really get it. Like, I don't know why we sing karaoke. Um, but like I don't want to be freaked out about it. And I was like, there's no reason to not just like do it. And so I started with singing, right? So if I'm like practicing singing at home, that is helping build my ability to like do well, practicing the lyrics, practicing the musical parts, you're literally like building your confidence in that ability so that like when you're on stage, you still have to practice that because that's like a totally different thing, but you've been practicing along the same vein instead of me practicing driving a race car to build my confidence when my goal is to get on stage and sing. So, all that to say, the first step I feel like is choosing something in alignment with your goal because I think that is going to get you like the most payoff the fastest is when you're staying like in that vein and in alignment with the ultimate thing that you're working towards. Although I do believe there's those like two kinds of confidence. And so a more general approach I think is still valuable, but I do feel like the most effective, like efficient way to get there is by choosing something that's like a baby step, like a little snippet of what it is that you're ultimately trying to do. So once you know what you're doing, like what your category is, right? Then you have to choose like what to do. So what is your first step? What is that baby step? So if you're looking at the big picture, um, that's going to depend on like what your first step is going to depend on where you're at in the journey. So for example, if we're looking at competing in that race, right? If all the cars are stick shift and you don't know how to drive a stick shift, that might be your first step, right? If you've never driven a car before, getting in a car might be your first step, right? If you do amateur racing, then maybe a certain competition or moving up to like more professional, maybe that's your next step. So this is very specific to you and where you're at in your journey. So for me, like if I'm already singing in the shower all the time, then I might move that, like I might be ready to go just jump into a karaoke bar and see what happens, right? Um, which is basically what I did. Okay. But so let's use that example because personal examples are always fun. So it's very specific to me. I found a song that I felt comfortable in. I knew the lyrics, I knew how the melody went, so I was like confident in that song, like in my shower, right? And then I practiced at home, like to just the music to make sure that like I knew when to jump in with the vocals and I was confident in the timing. And so like literally building my ability and my confidence in my ability to sing the song, those were like my baby steps. And so doing that, then the next step was like going to an audience, right? And so I have major social anxiety, which is part of why I wanted to do the karaoke thing because I was like, you got to get over it. Like you just have to do the things that scare you. And I was like, it's so silly that this like is such a big hurdle for me. And that's why I hate using this example. But hey, it's real. So here we are. But it's like, what is the big deal? Like, why do I care? I get on a podcast and I talk to people a couple times a month, like I'm on social media, like I don't have any problem like speaking in front of people, I don't think, right? But a live audience is different, I will say. And then like music is different, right? Like it's a different energy. Anyway, so like so much of this is personal to your own like motivation, what that goal is, and then where you're at in that journey. Because you want your first little baby step, or if you've already taken the first step, your next baby step, you want it to be the right amount of like scary. You want it to be something that's going to stretch you but not break you, right? So I did not choose to like jump on stage and sing a Mariah Carey song that I like never heard before, right? Because it's like the vocals aren't in range, like the difficulty is through the roof. Singing a song you don't really know like the back of your hand, like that is a huge leap. And it's kind of setting yourself up for failure, right? Because what are the chances of you doing well? Right? So I wanted to choose something that for some reason, being on the stage, having that mic was enough anxiety in itself. So I wanted to kind of make everything else as easy as possible. So I chose a song I was familiar with, practiced anyway. And then I went to a karaoke bar that I felt comfortable with. A little bit of a smaller crowd, a super friendly karaoke DJ, low pressure. The singers weren't all like amazing. They're like normal people. And so all those things kind of factored into where it was a big enough leap where I was still like a little freaked out and it took some courage and there was some anxiety there. So there was something to overcome. But it was also likely that everything would work out, that I would succeed, and that I would be okay, right? So it stretched me, but it didn't break me. It's not like I was jumping on stage at a Broadway show or something like, unprepared in front of millions of people. Like, and so that kind of concept is what I want to share with you, where it can be so important to choose something that's like the right amount of scary. Because again, like if it doesn't stretch you, if it's something you do all the time, like me singing in the shower isn't going to build any character on my part. It's not going to build any like confidence or like stretch me at all because like that's just something I do. There's no pressure, like so there's no stretch. But getting up in front of somebody, that's a stretch. And so you want to choose something that is a stretch, but that also something that's not so big and overwhelming that the likelihood of it kind of like blowing up in your face and scarring you for life is high, right? Because that's kind of the third part. So I'll try to stay focused here. Um, but and that's let me give some context. So part of why I mentioned like your likelihood of success being important. This is a little gray because your definition of success could be anything, right? And so that's part of it too when you're choosing how big of a leap to take. What is your definition of success? So basically, for example, like with the race, right? Is it finishing the race or is it winning the race? And then think about that. What is likely to stretch you without breaking you? Are you statistically likely to win the race the first time you join? Probably not, right? Unless it's a super easy race and you're overqualified. Like, then okay. But if it's a difficult race, then maybe a better goal definition of success might be to finish the race because that's something that you're pretty likely to achieve, but it's still it's a stretch to get into that race. Or with the karaoke, right? Um, Finishing the song without feeling like I completely butchered it. And now that is a little like vague definition. So it's not the most ideal, but yeah, so that's like a standard of success that's pretty achievable because the likelihood of me like finishing the song and not completely choking is pretty high with the song I'm familiar with, right? You have the variables of, the mic and the crowd and like na na na, which makes it a stretch, which is how we build, right? But also I'm pretty like I have a really good chance of success. of finishing the song, not completely bombing. And so, like, that balance where it's again like stretching, not breaking you is huge. And that's what's going to help you figure out like what is a good step? Like what is my next step in this situation? And so much of that is going to depend on where you're at in your journey, but then also it's going to depend on you and what you're comfortable with, what you've already done, what's freaky to you, right? Some people might have no problem like getting on stage in front of people, but it might be a struggle for them to, yeah, maybe karaoke's no problem, but it's scary for them to share a song they wrote, right? And so like that's all gonna just depend. And so that's why it's so personal and it's up to you to really kind of take some time to dig in and figure out like what is going to be hard, like what's going to be a challenge for me to work through and build that character and build that muscle and build that confidence, but that's not going to be so huge that I'm probably going to fall on my face and then I'm going to have to like deal with that trauma, right? And that is the third point that I want to talk about that I think is also really important because so much of this is like, what are you making it mean? So even starting from the what is your definition of success, right? What is all this meaning to you? Are you wanting to get up and sing karaoke because you want to be like discovered and you want to be famous? Or is it because like you think it's annoying that it kind of freaks you out when there's like no reason that you should have anxiety about it? It's like you want to kind of work through your social anxiety in that way. Those are two totally different things and they're both valid, but it's all going to depend on where you're at and like what you're looking to accomplish and why you're doing this, right? So it's important, I think, to be mindful and kind of cognizant when because you're looking to stretch yourself. And it's kind of like stretching your body, right? Like if you stretch too far, too fast, you can pull a muscle, you can hurt yourself. But you want to stretch in a way where it's like, okay, you can feel it and it's doing something. Because if you're doing this and it's not stretching, like that's not doing anything. You're not helping anything, you're not changing anything, like it just is what it is. But if you're getting like a stretch in and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you can feel it, it's stretching, it's good for you, that type of thing. But if you go too far and you're like yanking your shoulder out of the socket, damage. So tying back to the whole stretching thing, right? You get it. So I want to encourage you to be intentional and like go into it with kind of like an awareness of what your goal is and like how you're setting this up and what you're looking to accomplish with that little baby step because it's like one little baby step in the realm of the whole big goal that you have. And I personally, but I'm also an anxious girly, so hey, I'm not an adrenaline junkie, so take this with a grain of salt. But I personally think that like just traumatizing yourself by doing things that scare you just for the sake of it being scary um is not necessarily helpful. Like I already gave away how I think about it is like you could just end up traumatized. So there is serious like potential benefit from doing things that scare you, but I want you to go into it mindfully and strategically because you can just go do scary things and like freak yourself out and end up just traumatized and never wanting to do that again, right? That's often what happens when like we kind of bite off more than we can chew, or we get like tossed into the deep end and it's sink or swim, right? Instead of being able to like start in the shallow end and build your confidence and like go slowly. Works for some people, doesn't work for me. So my perspective is that you want something that's doable and that's not huge and overwhelming where it's just like sink or swim and you better figure it out and then you end up like I swam, but I never want to do that again because I want you to want to do it again because you just took that baby step. You got a lot more baby steps to go, but you can keep going and you can keep building that confidence as you go. Okay. So be intentional about like what you're choosing and why you're doing the things you're doing so that you can, it's like mind body connection, right? Like when you're doing the things that scares you, you want to keep in mind like why you're doing this and what you're looking to accomplish. You're not just doing it to be scared. You're doing it to get yourself to a bigger goal, to work towards a dream that you're wanting to take action on. Also, I think that there's so much power in like taking a step back afterward, debriefing, reflecting, reframing, like thinking about how did that go? So say for example, like after karaoke, right? Like it's very easy for our minds after we do something scary to like just start going a million miles a minute. And it's like, you were terrible. That was so cringe. Like, oh my gosh. And now this girl who's singing after you is like way better. And I can't believe they even let you on the same stage as her. And like your brain can start going just beating you up immediately before, during, and after your whole little baby step, right? So be intentional and be aware of those thoughts and be like, hey, this was my first time. Or, yeah, maybe I didn't nail it. That's okay. Nobody nails the song on their first try, usually. Or like whatever the situation is, right? Like, and kind of coaching yourself through those things so that you can like regulate and bring that logic in to kind of explain your emotions like, hey, I hear you, but like, no, I'm not a complete failure. Hey, I hear you that maybe you're a little embarrassed, but like it's not cringe to try. Plenty of people sing karaoke. It's a normal thing. We can argue whether or not it should be normal, whatever, but it's like it's not cringe. Do I think that everybody else who sang tonight was cringe? No. So why would I be cringe for doing the same thing? Go ahead and take a seat, right? And so working through those things and talking yourself through and be like, okay, we did it. It was scary. I didn't execute perfectly, but hey, I did it, and that was the goal, right? What was your definition of success? Was it to finish? Did you succeed? Okay. So if you feel a little cringe, you feel a little shaky after, you feel a little weird, that doesn't mean that you didn't succeed. So that's why I think it's so important to like take that step back and be like, hey, I'm being mindful of working through like all these things that are coming up after I did the scary thing. And I'm being like intentional to kind of work through and reframing those thoughts of like, okay, it felt cringe. Like after I got on that stage, it felt super weird. I felt like embarrassed, like whatever it is. And then work through that. Be like, what's going on? Why would you be embarrassed? Is it embarrassing that everybody else did it? Then why is it embarrassing for you? And really giving yourself space to kind of work through those feelings. So you can be like, okay, cool. I heard you. I listened to you. I felt you. And you're not defining what I do for the rest of my life. So thank you. Thank you so much, feeling of cringe. I heard you. We're moving on, right? Um, and then like reframing things. If it was kind of freaky, if you didn't execute perfectly, like, okay, but you did it. And remind yourself, hey, I succeeded. Or hey, I tried. Or hey, this is the first time I've done it and I did it. I was brave. Or I got closer than I ever have before. And that's progress. All those little things, like those are the things that you want to remind yourself of because our brains like go to the negative so quickly. And like so consistently. And so sometimes you have to remind yourself, like, no, wait, nope, hang on, there's a good thing here. And that's the memory, like, that's the thought that I want to remember. And that's what I want to kind of like train my mind to go to next time. And so that intentionality is what can make that, what helps you like learn and strengthen that muscle. Because like you can work out like too hard or stretch too hard and damage yourself, right? But part of what helps us rebuild, like when we're talking about the confidence muscle or like just this willingness to do things outside of your comfort zone, when you're like building those muscles, that intentionality and like working through those feelings and reframing and kind of choosing what you're making it mean, that is like helping your muscles recover so much faster instead of like leaving them damaged. So that is really powerful. And then kind of just tagging on to that, like taking the time to be like, okay, what went well? What do I want to work on next time? Um, like there was one song like I forgot where to breathe, right? So then I'm like catching my breath in the middle of a line, and it's like, okay, so next time I want to figure out like where to breathe in that verse. Or there was one little like ooh that I missed on one song, and I actually sang it with a friend, and he hit it, and I was like, that enhances a lot. Like I have to remember that, and I'm gonna add that in next time. And so just things like that of like letting yourself learn, taking notes, like, hey, what went well? You did it. First of all, that's huge. You succeeded. Amazing. So what's the next little step? How can I build on this? What went well? What do I want to do differently? How did I grow? How do I want to grow? What's next? Like all those kinds of things where you're kind of helping yourself debrief from that baby step so that you're moving on to the next baby step. Okay. So those are the three little bullet points that I wanted to talk about today with like, how do you do the scary thing? How do you take that messy action? How do you start before you feel ready? And the biggest bullet points I have for today is that choose something that's in alignment with your bigger goal. So you're taking a baby step on that same staircase and choosing something that's the right size of fear, something that's going to stretch you but not break you, that you kind of get anxiety about, but you're pretty sure you can do it. It's just going to be hard. That is like the sweet spot where it allows you so much potential for growth. And then third, like reflecting, what are you making it mean? And really like soaking up all that growth that you can. Reflecting on what happened, how you felt about it, what went well, what didn't, and then pulling out like what can you make this mean to you to help you grow and recover and get stronger and get ready to take that next step. That's all I got. All right. I'm so proud of you. I think you're doing so great. If you have any questions or you want to talk about this more, please feel free to hit me up. I love to hear from you. You can leave a comment on YouTube, on my social media. I'm at the Fierce Framework. You can email me at the Fierce Confidence at thefierceframework.net. Whatever is best for you. I can't wait to hear from you. Also, keep an eye out for my planning workshop that is coming up. I am doing the second annual Plan Your Year workshop. It's going to be in January, so you have plenty of time to think about it. I've got a waiting list sign up on my Instagram bio. You'll be hearing about it if you're on my email list, all that good stuff. But if that sounds good to you, keep an eye out because I don't want you to miss anything. And until then, keep becoming fierce.